This is Peter Boykin from MAGA First News on MAGA One Radio, part of the MAGA Network. So, I already talked about some of my walkaway story. Or basically, I walked away from the DNC, or the grip of the DNC. The only reason why I ever even considered the DNC is because of their so-called pro-gay stance. I never liked the fact that the Democrats were for abortion. I always thought abortion was murder. I always believed that it was not in the best interest. And it's kind of funny, well, not funny, but kind of tragic that you got to have Planned Parenthood at gay prides. I don't understand why Planned Parenthood is at gay pride. I have a video where I actually walked up and said, why are you even here? And when I said, oh, well, good, you're here for other than helping people murder babies. Yeah, that person rolled their eyes and they kind of wanted to shoo me away from their desk real quick. So I was always stuck with the balance of Republicans are pro life, but they're so anti-gay. That's what I was told. And the Democrats, they're so pro-gay, and I'll get my gay rights and everything, but oh my God, I have to deal with, I have to sign my soul with the devil when it comes to, having to sign away the feeling that, oh, the whole women's rights and blah, 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 the right to have my baby or right to abort my baby or when you have a child to say, you're the little abortion I never had. I just never really could get myself fully into the Democratic Party. I would never really consider myself a full liberal or a Democrat. I don't really consider myself a full conservative right now. I am more of a moderate. I'm more of an independent Republican. As I still like to vote independent. There are still cases where some people might be the best over one other person in maybe a party. But then again, you have to also weigh that with the fact that Republicans do better when we are in the majority, but we have to make sure that we are not fueling the establishment. So, for me, my walkaway story is, and if you might do a little research about me, and I had been like an activist in the past. I trolled a whole city at one time. There's a little bit of a, I call it a, what was I calling it? Not a Democrat, degenocrat. Little degenocrat in me when some of the past that I had done. But ultimately, I sort of considered myself a Republican kind of back then. Except for, being in the gay community, I had been told, what to do. Now, we lived in Memphis, Tennessee for a little while. And in Memphis, Tennessee, we joined a group called Memphis Area Gay Youth. Well, of course, there was a little bit older gays that would run the group. And me and my husband, yes, we've been together for like 22 years. We used to go to these groups. And they would tell us all sorts of BS. And Dave and me wouldn't have it. So we weren't having it. We weren't getting brainwashed by people back then. And we actually created our own little offshoot group for a little bit older Maggie people. And I tell you the truth, I had a friend back then. She was, she lived a life as a trans person. Her name was Mason Dixon. It's kind of funny because that's Memphis. I don't know if her whole thing was well, she did go around wearing, makeup and everything all the time. She also liked to sort of do drag. I don't know. I never really was kind of really understood exactly, and I'll never really understand exactly. But Mason was a really, really good friend of mine. And you used to hang out, and it was a whole Memphis crew that we used to hang out together. And so, I accepted Mason as a woman or girl or whatever. I knew it was a boy that would dress up. Never got to see what Mason looked like without the makeup and everything. But Mason was a sweet person. Her mom took care of her and everything, um, and I like to hang out with Mason. I miss Mason. I don't know Mason's real name because Mason Dixon was more of a kind of a so-called drag name. And I wish I could find out what happened to her. So I had her as a friend. I also stood up for a transsexual person at my workplace about 10 years now ago, where I was trying to make sure that they had a good place, a safe place for them to use the bathroom. But going back to Memphis back in 1996, it wasn't good for gays. They used to have a big giant billboard there that had like a straight-laced looking guy, and then the other side was somebody who was transgender, and it used to say, homosexuality is a sin and you're going to go to hell. And that was pretty much the billboard. And then they used to have, I don't know if you know the old Surge commercials where they would have, Surge! Well, on the radio station. And it's kind of like there's a local station here that just kind of does man up, Well, you can take semi-offense to that, but then again, back then, the commercial they used to play all the time would be like, hamps, duct tape, tubing, fags. And they used to play that on the radio. Back in like 96. Now, mind you, this is the same year they had the Birdcage remake. They had Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, and you had In and Out. And you had Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. RuPaul was coming up big and strong, Wigstock and everything else. I was always kind of fascinated with the drag queen world, and I did try to do a little drag one time. It really didn't kind of work out for me because I'm not too much into makeup and everything. I do get jealous of the women who get to wear better outfits than men. But, men have stepped it up. We've got better outfits since then. You see, I'm wearing something flashy today. I always look for wearing something flashy. That was the gayest part about me, is I like to try to find something flashy. We used to have club shirts and things like that I would wear. But I can commend that and look, the liberal gays did a lot, but also the conservative gays, like the log cabin Republicans, with inclusion within and sitting down at the table, they helped a lot, court system and everything, and we got to a better society now, where gays are accepted. Now, what I worry about is that the gays are pushing it too far. The gays are pushing it to the limit where they want this. They cram as much as they can down your throat to force you and tell you you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And everybody's offended. Everybody's got to get in their safe space. Well, there was a nice little balance there. Yeah, I was offended back then with the whole, duct tape and blah, blah, blah from that radio station. That would never fly. That would absolutely never fly in today's world. But at the same time, we can't go overboard like we've been doing. We can't be like, oh, I'm getting sued because you didn't pronounce the right pronouns for me. You didn't guess that I was a female. You didn't guess that I was a male. But I digress. But when it comes down to it, and this is an add-on to my walkaway story, I've seen too much on one side. I have seen the left go way far extreme, way far extreme, and I'm done dealing with that kind of mess. To sit there and get on the left, it means you get involved in all sorts of things that are just not right. Not right at all. And so we move toward the right. I moved toward the right. I've been working with the North Carolina Republican Party, who is actually very, very open to gay people. As much as they try to say, oh, we had this lawsuit, oh, we did the trans stuff, blah, blah, blah. Well, people don't understand. They go too far with the trans thing. The trans issue had gotten to the point where they thought that anybody could use any bathroom at any time, no matter what they look like, no matter what they dress, and that they could also force this on every single business. Well, that goes against every single principle out there. If a place wants to have a open bathroom, then by God, have one. Just let people know.